Hello and namaste. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Welcome to this session of BCI World Horizon. First of all, I hope you and your dear ones are safe and healthy. Survival of the fittest. All of us have heard this phrase, right? During our childhood, when we are studying, even today. But why are we talking about this today? This is not a science class. But what we are going to see is how this phrase is so relevant for BCM and resilience professionals. And not only them, all the type of profession that you see in the world. Let's start. The question is, are we relevant today? Do you ask this question to yourself on a daily basis? If not, please do so, because your answer will help you in deciding what should be your immediate focus. What should you do immediately? How you should ensure that you become relevant. In today's world, things are changing rapidly. Technology changes, situation changes, environmental changes, political changes, economical changes. I mean, with all these different changes, what does this mean? It means that the skills and knowledge we have today will not and can't help us survive in long term due to the dynamics that we talked about just now. If we only rely on what we have today, it won't take much time for us to just disappear from the action. And yes, believe me, it's true. We need to prepare ourselves to become responsive to changes. Means we make ourselves competent enough to handle and manage changes. And today's session, we'll talk more about this. What do? We need to upgrade our knowledge, skills on a continuous basis and ensure that we are always relevant and current. If we are not doing this, we are actually risking our existence. And in the next slide, I'll talk about a couple of examples that we have seen, and you all are aware about that. Now, this person, Charles Darwin, I'm sure all of us know them. All of us know him. What did he say? He came out with very interesting theory, saying, out of all the species that you have on the earth, it's not the strongest of those species or the most intelligent of those which would survive, but the ones which would survive are the ones who would be most responsive to the change, responsive to change, right? What I mean by that means when there is a struggle for the survival or there is a competition for survival, when there are changes happening in and around us, those people or those species who are most responsive to change, someone who is able to adapt themselves, those are the people who are going to survive, or those are the species who are going to survive. And this was emphasized by Charles Darwin in his theory. Now, survival of the fittest. Remember that this term or phrase was not coined by Charles Darwin. It was by Herbert Spencer. But then Charles Darwin liked it and he associated this phrase with this theory. We are going to look more into this in the coming slides. So just hold on with me. Now, interesting slide. If you can see the name of the organizations on the left, they are with red color, and on the right, they are with green color. Now you can see the companies in red are the ones for whom their slow or no responsive attitude actually became a huge risk for their existence. Whereas on the other side, you have green companies who kept innovating and responding appropriately to the changing and demanding environment. What did they do differently? The green ones, they actually converted the dynamic situations into opportunities. And that is what is most important thing. When you have these changes, try to see if there is a situation which can become an opportunity for you. That is the most important part. Now, these companies, whether it is red or green, What do they reflect? They reflect the appetite, the success and failure of the respective top management, because organization is nothing but the people, the leaders, right? So whether it is a failure or a success, that depends upon the type of the management and the leadership, the decisions that they have taken. So they are actually the ones who are responsible for these results. Hello, everyone. This is Deepak Singh, and I would like to just talk a little about me. In total, about 27 years of experience, basically coming from an engineering background and later moved towards management. I'm an MBCI. I also have an organization called Gorisco Solutions, which works on business continuity, ITDR, risk management, and all. I'm external advisor for Bain and Company. I'm also the current chair of BCI Bangalore chapter in India. Now, apart from these, I love making new connections and networks, new way of doing things, innovations, music, singing Hindi classic songs, and also have some hands-on musical instruments as well. So thank you again for giving me this opportunity. Thanks to BCI, and thanks to you all for being here with me. Let's move forward. Everyone wants to be super successful in their career, right? Each one of us. People, I mean, everyone who is sitting here, who are attending this course, people who are on the job already, people who professionals, each and every professional wants to be super successful in their career. Don't you want to be a person who can turn all opportunities given to you into a success story for yourself and, of course, the organization? Of course you do. Each one of us would love to be that kind of person. But the larger question is, how do we do that? We have seen many professionals who we thought were great or the best, but they fail when it comes to achieving or driving initiatives. Why is that so? What happens there? Is there something which can change the scenario? How can their performance be improved? So for all these, remember, the trick is not in planning, it is in execution. And the execution excellence is a derivative of multiple factors, not just the domain or the subject knowledge. I'm sure each one of you would agree with me, right? It's not that you have just domain knowledge and the subject matter expertise and that's enough. No, you are actually dependent on a lot of other factors for being that or achieving that excellence in execution. So what is the formula? Right? Is there something that we know that this is the formula to be successful? If it was so easy to do this, probably I wouldn't be talking about this topic today, and we wouldn't be spending this time together. At least from my last 27 years of experience, I strongly believe there is a formula because I have used that myself multiple times. And the formula is success is equal to opportunity, timing, and competency. Again, success is equal to opportunity, timing, and competency. Opportunity, we understand. Timing, the timing of that particular thing happening and then you being there, right? That is timing. Competency. What is competency? As per ISO 9001, competence is the demonstrated ability to apply knowledge and skills. Fair enough? So what it means is, it is in our hands to develop our execution excellence capabilities. Only knowledge will not help, right? The skills is an important ingredient of ensuring that you are leading to that execution excellence. Now, if I take an example of starting my company, Gorisco Solutions, what happened? In 2016, I realized there was a huge opportunity in BCM field, as it was still something which was growing with multiple disasters, incidents, situations of disruptions happening around. The impact it was creating on people, assets, businesses, and the nuances of handling approaches Different people, different organizations used to handle the disaster in a different way. And on top of that, there used to be changing technologies, risks, etc. Right? So there was an opportunity which I thought that yes, there is something which exists there. Time. Time was perfect for me because I was getting bored of corporate jobs, frankly speaking. I was becoming comfortable, and the market's shortage of professionals with practical thought process and approach was not just, it was not something that you should just be going by the books. You need to have that aspect also, the practical approach, the thought process, right? Also, by then, I have had already multiple years of experience that I had put on my career on business continuity. So I got that competency advantage also because of the organization Honeywell I was into, because Honeywell has multiple business units, multiple type of business. The operations were different. So what it felt like is I am working, or I have experienced multiple sectors or multiple types of organizations. That was the benefit that Honeywell gave me. Myself, because as I said, I come from engineering background, not management. And so I could understand and relate business operations very well. It was easy for me to grasp things faster and design a practical approach to the solutions. Remember, though you can influence, you might not have full control on creating an opportunity or the timing of the opportunity when it is favorable to you. But what you can absolutely have the control is to be ready with all the skills and hit the nail at the right point of time. That is something that is within our control. Among all the skills we have been hearing, the most important one is soft skills. But why? Why it is so important? Let's see the definitions. Oxford Dictionary says the soft skills are the personal qualities that enable you to communicate well with other people. Right? If you look at the Cambridge Dictionary definition, it says it's the people's abilities to communicate with each other and work well together. What does it mean? It means that there is an interaction between humans. And hence, many experts call this as human skills, not soft skills, right? Because soft skills doesn't give that aspect of the importance of your human relationship, interpersonal skills that you need to work with different human or people around you. But if you call this as human skills, it gives that importance. And I fully agree. If you look around, you'll find most of the successful leaders are actually having excellent human skills. Yeah, you can take examples. You can see people in and around you, someone who is very successful, or the role models. They're actually those who are having excellent human skills. And hence it is important. Now, I'm sure that many of you would have seen this DISC profiling, and there have been training courses around that. So if you see this picture, on the left side, you see task-oriented people. On the right side, you see behaviors from the people who are people-oriented, right? Now, if you see those behaviors, which is influence, enthusiasm, friendly, optimistic, steadiness, sincerity, patient, and all, this is something that you'll feel that a person having these behaviors or a leader having these behaviors are those who you would like to definitely work with, right? Not the task oriented ones, dominance, results, always talking about results, be very direct, be very competitive, that what do you say, feeling of that competitiveness, continuous pressure and all. Not something that everyone would want to work with. But definitely with people oriented, you'll want to work with those people. So if you need to collaborate, convince, brainstorm, you need to be having positive people oriented behaviors. That's very important. Now, why do we need human skills for a BCM and resilience professionals? Why? These guys are not CEOs, COs, CXOs. Do they really need human skills? Yes, no? I think yes. And that's very important because BCM or resilience, it's a unique field. And when I say unique, what does it mean? It means that this is a field which involves every aspect of the organization. And I'm sure you all will agree with this. When you do a BCM implementation, you will see the amount of departments that you are touching, the level of people there you are touching, right from CEO to the last level of people, probably, right? So you can see this is one area where you need to touch everyone, right from top to bottom, left to right, everything. And hence, you definitely need to have a person who has a good human skill because ultimately you need to work with people, right? So do we say that these people are BCM or resilience managers? Maybe designation calls that. But I strongly think that they are actually leaders, not just managers, right? On the screen, you will see a couple of pointers that why it is so important for these professionals to have the skills, right? Quickly taking you through working with multiple functions and departments, you have to, without having deep knowledge on each of them, right? You may not know deep about everyone's operation, but you still need to work with them and then understand what is happening there. Work with different type of people, work across different levels, handle different mindsets and behaviors, manage expectations. Is a driver, not an owner. Of course, you do not own the business. So the business unit leader or the business unit head are the ones who should be actually owning it, who actually own that. Our role, or BCM or resilience professionals, their role is that they need to ensure that based on the standards, the practices and all, they guide them to ensure that the whole thing is driven properly. So you are more like a driver. You are not owning anything directly there, right? You don't have direct line of control on the people, and that's the most important challenge. Because when you work with people, if you know that you have direct control on them, they will of course listen to you, but it becomes very difficult if you do not have direct control on them. And hence, in that case, if you are not having these human skills to handle such people, to handle the colleagues around you, it becomes a challenge. The performance depends largely on others work, right? You might be an individual contributor or you're small, the BCM team may be very small, but the thing is, a lot of your performance actually depends on others work. If they do well, that's something that helps the overall BCM in the organization, right? And of course, you would have seen people will think that as if the BCM leader or the BCM coordinator, they don't have any work. They're just there to say that, okay, can you please complete your review? Can you approve this? Can you do this? Can you do that? So this is something that I have a lot of work. That's what we get to hear from business people, as if the BCM leader or the BCM professional doesn't have any work. It's not like that, right? But the purview or the aspect that others from business they see, they may think that, okay, this guy doesn't have any work, the guy with no work, right? And these are the reasons or the challenges that a BCM or resilience professionals encounter. And hence you will see a lot of people in the same role, in the same organization. Someone was not that successful, but another person came and he was, I mean, he has driven everything successfully. He was very successful. Why? Because of these human skills. That was the differentiator. That is the differentiator, and that will remain the differentiator. If you want to be successful in your professional career, you need to ensure that you have good human skills. Now, your performance depends on these, right? The skills to extract favorable behaviors from others is nothing but your human skills. Now, if you see these three circles, right? You have knowledge, you have behavior, you have skills. And then cross section or intersection of each of these, you could see 1, 2, 3. What I could say is here. If you are at 1, you are beginner, 2, practitioner, 3, proficient. But if you are able to use your skills to impact your behaviors, others' behavior, and utilize your knowledge to ensure that whatever is the initiative you are driving, you are able to drive it successfully, then you are called as an expert. So again, very important. You need to be at 4. And for 4, if you are ignoring any of these circles, it won't happen. Okay. Now to bring this together, human skills are something that is must. Okay, so quickly, what are the benefits of human skills? You have a great teamwork. If you have human skills and then you drive it accordingly, you have great teamwork. You'll see a very positive culture in the organization, good collaboration within the team members, right? Not only within the team, but even outside the team, within the organization, but outside their team, going above and beyond. Very important, right? If you have good human skills, you will see that people whom you are talking to or people with whom you are working, they will go above and beyond their responsibilities to support you. And hence, this point is very important. Empathy, right? If you have that, you will understand everyone's problem, others' problem, the point they are trying to emphasize, and then try to see whether there is a appropriate solution to that. Better engagement, right? Once you have these empathy, you will ensure that people with whom you are working, they are actually going to get better engaged in the work, trying to deliver the results and get those initiatives made successful. Improved results, drive innovation and improvements, right? Have that open culture. You need to ensure that if I tell some point, I know that it will be accepted, it will be heard, people will talk about it, right? So that's when people come out with more and more ideas and improvement suggestions. Fair enough? Okay. Now, let's look at the required soft skills, which I feel, based on my experience, which I think it is important for a BCM or resilience professional to have. Self-aware and learner, very important. Okay, you should ensure that you are aware about your weaknesses, your strengths, and then ensure that wherever you find that there is an opportunity to learn and improve, you should be doing that. Very proactive approach. Effective communicator, I don't think there is a need to explain that. Collaborator and negotiator, again, very important, because you work with different people, you have to get your work done, you have to ensure that things which are right for the organization in terms of business continuity, in terms of resilience, in terms of driving that initiative is what you need to do, and for which you need to collaborate with people. And then if there is need to negotiate and then drive your or push your ideas, you need to do that. So that's very important. Leadership, I mean, you can just talk and talk and talk about it, right? Leadership, again, very important skill that you require, because that's how people will start following you. That's an important aspect, right? And you will have multiple examples of leadership, right? Leaders who have failed, leaders who have been doing very well, right? Some of those cases where the leadership did not work well, some of those cases where leadership excellently worked to ensure that the things were put in place for the benefit of the organization and it was achieved, the success was achieved, right? Like for example, in India, in today's situation, right, we had seen multiple good and bad examples of leadership decision making during this pandemic. If you remember, India handled the first wave really well. I mean, I would say when most advanced countries with so-called best medical infrastructure were failing miserably, India did very well, with that huge population. We also developed, two COVID vaccines, and not just for ourselves, but also given to multiple countries in the world. But then wave two came and everything started going wrong. Why? I don't want to drive this into a political discussion. But yes, one of the most important reasons for that failure in the second wave is related to leadership. Okay, like failures in the delegation, the decision making, mismanagement, right? Multiple things. And hence I'm saying leadership could be something that will break or make things for you. Then you have assertive. If you need to get something done, you need to be just continuously behind that, trying to push people, trying to persuade people to get it done, right? That is assertive. Passionate. If you do not love your job, if you do not love your subject, if you do not love your department, if you do not love your initiative, you are not passionate. You are not going to be successful because, I mean, there's no fun that you are getting out of all this. Influence. I'm sure you all agree. In BCM or resilience role, one of the very important thing is how you can influence people, how you can influence their decision making, how you can influence that what you want to get from them is something that you are getting, right? So influencer is again very important skill that you should have. Emotional intelligence. What is it? It is the capacity or the capability to be aware of, understand others and self's emotions, control and express accordingly to handle interpersonal relationships judiciously. You need to connect between the two people. You need to ensure that you make it. You should not be breaking it, right? Take the example of COVID pandemic. Many organizations have changed their policies, processes, timings, etc. Right? You have seen many of these changes in the organization. And why are they doing that? Because they want to ensure the employees and their family members are in the best possible comfort. They are not hurrying up, pushing the people saying that, no, you will have to come to office by so and so date and all. No, nothing of that sort is happening. And they don't want to do that because they know that things will break out. They extended insurance policies to cover COVID treatment. They are vaccinating their employees and family members in the campus. They are calling them. Why? Because they know that these are very emotionally challenging moments for people and they need to do everything possible to comfort them. That's a win-win situation. This is what we professionals need to be good at. Don't just push for the targets. Don't just push for saying that this has to be completed and that has to be completed. I mean, work will happen. But you need to empathize with people to understand what is that they are missing to get or execute and why. What kind of people or the person he or she is, what is the right time and mood you should talk to them to ensure that they understand and you get the work done, right? Very important. Possibility thinking, what it is the willingness to see possibilities everywhere instead of just limitations, right? You may have different challenges, you may have a very hard situation, but the thing is, even during such a situation, when you are stuck with one or multiple problems, what are the possibilities? How we can do that? Continuously think about that. Try to see how we can get out of that situation with different possibilities around. Now, question is, innovative, should it be there? Yes, no? I think yes. Why? Because innovative is just not about technology and processes, right? Any new way of doing things, any new idea that you can think how to get this done or how to get this executed, how to make this successful is what is innovation. And hence, that's again very important point. Now, with all these things, can we say that there is a prioritization? Is there something which should be first rank versus second rank versus third rank? I don't think you will get that anywhere. But for your role, for your organization, for your type of work, maybe you can put that. And what you're going to see on the screen is something that I have put from my experience of consulting business. Right? My prioritization looks like that, though we cannot prioritize as a general rule, and everyone has a different portfolio in the organization. Your ideas may differ, but this is how I would like to rate them. First one is passionate. Number two, leadership. Third, effective communicator. Fourth, emotional intelligence. Fifth, collaborator and negotiator. 6th, influencer, 7th, assertive, 8th, innovative, possibility thinking, number 9, and at number 10, you have self-aware and learner. Now, it doesn't demean the importance of any of the ones which are on the bottom. No, my intention is not that. Everything is important. But if you have to look, right, the 1, 2, 3, and all, right, I would say from my experience, these are the things that we should highly concentrate on. Other things will fall in place slowly. Now, what do we do with this required soft skills? What should be done? Here is a self-evaluation template that you are seeing on the screen, right? And you will see that there are different columns. You have soft skills required, you have weightage, self-rating. Now, I'll explain that, but let me come to this. And by the way, this is a template which I use within our organization, within Gorisco, and we do this analysis for our resources. And I just thought that maybe it would be good that this practice I can share during this session, right? So what we do is based on the ranking that you saw in the previous slide, right? Passionate leadership. So you'll see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The same ranking has been put here, right? All the 10. And then because I said from my ranking, passionate is number 1, full weightage goes to that, and leadership 1 down, 1 down, 1 down, 1 down, and so forth. Okay. Self-rating. So on the right side, you will see the rating levels. If you think you are beginner, rate it at 1. If you think you are practitioner, you rate at 2, proficient 3, or expert. If you think you are expert, go ahead and rate 4, right? So here you have self-rating. That means you rate yourself on that particular soft skills, right? This is your own rating. Then go to someone else within your team or within your organization or your friend, someone who understands you well, someone who has worked very closely with you, and then ask them to rate it. It could be just one person like A, or it could be A, B, and C, maybe 2 or 3 people whom you would say that, why don't you rate me on these particular soft skills where I stand currently? And this is how you get those ratings. So what is your self-score? Self-score will be the weightage into self-rating, which is 10 into 3 is equal to 30. And A score, that means A has rated you 2. So 2 into weightage, he said that your score is 20. So 30 and 20, the average comes 25. So you are saying that on passionate, you are based on your feedback and others' feedback, your score is actually 25 out of 40. How 40? Because weightage is 10 and the best level that you could be at is expert level. So 10 into 4 is equal to 40 and hence maximum score is 40. So you are 25 out of 40, which is 63%. And similarly, if you see the other ones, and what you see on the screen is actually a real number, which was done during analysis at Gorisco for one of the resources, right? So here you see for leadership, it is 88%, effective communicator, 88%, emotional intelligence, 50%, right? So you could see a huge difference there. Okay, so this is what you do at the template level and trying to get the scores there, right? What is the maximum score you are getting? What is the average score? And where on the percentage terms, what is the level of skill you have currently? Now, what you do is the next, you actually draw the graph, right? You draw the graph based on the score that you have. And by the way, this template and the graph is something that I already have. So if someone is interested, you can just write back to me and then I'll forward you that graph. Go ahead and use it for you and your team, right? So based on what you got there, these charts will be plotted. And then you will see that for all these soft skills, all the 10 soft skills, you'll get the rating. So you could see very clearly that, something was that you rated. Okay, let me take this example. You rated yourself, that means your score was 24, but someone else rated you at 32. the maximum was 32, and the average was 28. So you still think that, okay, if you take just your consideration, there is a huge gap, but probably after getting feedback from others also, the gap is not that much, right? So this is where you can analyze it. You could see the huge difference between this, right? And that is across. That means, everyone believes that you are still at this level. Okay, fair enough. Now, on the screen, you see the results, right? You have all those all the soft skills listed here. And then you see the rating in percentage where you are. So if you see, you can very clearly see that if you have rated this as top priority, then second priority, third priority, fourth priority, then you think that, yeah, maybe leadership and effective communicator I'm still good at. So fine, but I need to really work on passionate and 50%, which is for emotional intelligence. This means that you could actually go ahead and define saying that maybe 70% is my cutoff. Anything more than 70%, I need not, I definitely have to work on that, but I did not keep a dedicated focus on that. You need not to go for training, coaching and mentoring and all, right? May not require. But then you can see the others which are falling short, and that's what you could focus on. So from this example, you could see what are the top 3 improvement priorities. Those are passionate, there's emotional intelligence, and collaborator and negotiator. Because here I have kept 80% as my target, right? And I'm not 80% for this particular soft skill as well, right? So what do we do? Then we go up for the training workshop, the certifications, mentoring, coaching, guidance, everything. This will define which is the soft skill that you should focus the most immediately versus on a long term. I hope you're clear about this. So the template is with us. Let us know. We could send it to you. Now, coming to the conclusion. Human skills are critical for success. I have seen organizations who do performance appraisals, not only based on the results, but also on the skills and behaviors, right? And I think that that's really a great way of doing people assessment. So you will have the results, which was defined in your goals, and you also have those behaviors and skills listed on the other side. So it becomes like a matrix, and then you need to rate in both terms. So getting results with wrong behavior or wrong set of skills is not something that is appreciated. And hence those will still get, even though the result has been achieved, because of those skills or the behavior, you will get a low rating, right? So hence, everything that you get as a result has to be driven out of proper soft skills and good behaviors, the right behaviors. So human skills are critical for success. It should be a criteria of selection for the role of BCM resilience leader. Yes. Today, if you see a job definition, not many things are talked from the soft skills perspective. But I think going forward, we need to ensure, because the reasons that we talked about, the BCM or resilience person has to be working like a leader. It's not just about managing things. He's not a manager. He's actually a leader. So you need to be actually putting a very clear criteria for the selection of such a person, right? So have that embedded in the job description. You should analyze and develop the human skills. So if you do this analysis, right, the things that you saw in the previous slides on the assessment and all, analyze your leaders in the sense the BCM leader, and even other business leaders. Of course, if you want to do that, you can do that. Use the same template. Maybe the priorities of the soft skills required would change for that particular role, but it is applicable, right? The methodology will be applicable, and it will be really helpful. So do that for your leaders, your team members and all, and then try to identify which are those things which needs to be developed. Monitor changes around you and update continually. Again, continually, not continuously, right? Very important factor. If you have to ensure that you are adapting to things changing around you, you need to monitor it first. Before it happens and before it impacts you, you should have been prepared and you should have been ready. Like the way we say, right, when we make business continuity plan, we make when it's BAU, we make them, we exercise them, we ensure that things are reviewed, revised and all. so that any point of time, if the disaster strikes, you are ready. So you should be ready. You should be upgrading yourself continually. You should be monitoring the changes so that you are always prepared. At the end, only those who can sense and adapt faster than others would survive. And that is fact. I'm sure that a lot of you would have seen practical examples, but yes, that is a fact. Every single day, this is the last one and the most important one. Every single day, ask yourself, am I relevant today? Am I needed today? Do I have something new to learn? Am I going something new? Am I going to learn something new? Right? All those things are very important. But the baseline is, am I relevant today? Okay. So with that, I would like to thank you for giving your time and joining this session. I hope I was able to trigger some thought process in you and around the importance of soft skills to become a better BCM or resilience professional. Don't hesitate to connect with me for any help. You could see my contact details there, right? So provide feedback. You want to provide feedback for this session, I'd be very happy if you could do that. If there is something that you want to discuss around BCM, resilience, and soft skills, please do feel free to contact me. I think I've been speaking for so long now. Let's hear from you on your experience and any question that you have. But before that, I would like to start with some polls. So just sit on that while I start the polls, and would like to understand some of your perspectives on the subject. So again, thank you so much. We'll see you on the other side of this with the polls. Thank you.